Hi, welcome to the advanced deal flow section of this program. In this video, I'm going to start showing you how to really pick up deal flow, really get deals coming in the door, and ramp up your business model. All right, so we got to remember that there are only two major points to investing in real estate. One is deal analysis, and the other is deal flow. Right? We got to know what is a good deal, what we're looking at, when are we looking at a good deal, and we have to look at deals, look at a lot of deals. So deal analysis is the first half, we'll cover that, and deal flow be in the second half. So starting off with deal flow, getting deals coming in the door. Basically, there are two major methods for finding multifamily and real estate deals. That's either going directly to an owner or working with a realtor, an intermediary, right? Broker, realtor. So the way I break this down is largely speaking 50 units and under and 50 units and above, right? If we're going 50 units and under, you want to probably go directly to the owner, right? So if you want to go 50 units and larger, so if we're going big properties, then we want to probably start working with realtors. If we're going less than 50 units, better to try and use some sort of direct mail, direct letter, direct contact campaign. That might be you sending postcards, it might be you cold calling, sending business letters, postcards, whatever the case. So that's 50 units and under, you're probably better off going straight to that owner. 50 units and above, you're pretty much in the realtor world there. I always kind of make the joke, you don't really see like a 100-unit apartment complex with a for sale by owner scribbled on a piece of cardboard stuck out by the road, right? You just don't see that. You don't find 100 units, 200 units in the classified ads in the newspaper. Those are almost always sold through commercial realtors. And so your job in deal flow is to build relationships with these commercial realtors so that you can start getting that kind of deal flow coming in. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. All right, so that's kind of how we break that down, 50 units and above, 50 units and under. Okay, so going back here, if we're looking at, and let's break this down again, if we're looking at the 50 units and above and the 50 units and under. So we'll say this is direct to owner, so this will be less than 50 units here, and we'll say more than 50 units here. All right, so as we said, this is direct to an owner, right? You're gonna need a list. That's the first thing you're gonna need is a list. List of owners, list of people that own assets in the market that you're trying to buy in so that you can reach out and start contacting this list. I'm not going to give you any specific sources for this because I don't represent nor warranty any of the information from any of these companies. But generally speaking, there are companies out there that will sell you a list. You can go on the internet, you can search and find list service companies. You can probably start looking for that. And what you're going to do is you're going to find a company that builds lists. You're going to give them the criteria that you want. So you would say, like I'm in Atlanta, so I would say, well, give me a list of all of the owners in Atlanta that have 100 units or more and have owned the property for 5 years or more. And I want their name, their contact information, and the property address. Those are just some general criteria. And so the more items that you put on this list, the more expensive each lead will be. Okay, so the least amount of information cheaper, the more information you want per person, more expensive. So you gotta have to figure out a good company that's gonna build your list, figure out what you wanna pay for the list, and then you have to set up a system of sending out letters or contacting these owners on a very regular basis, as I've already mentioned. What I would do, what I have done in the past, is to automate the mailing. So to hire a company that does mailing, that does this sort of service, sends out postcards, things like that. But then on the answer side, that's actually me. So if it's about having a call to action in your mailer or your contact that says, hey, give me a call if you want to sell, I'm going to be the one to answer the phone. I would not recommend outsourcing that to a virtual assistant or anything like that. If I am cold calling owners directly, I am going to make sure that I am the one actually picking up the phone and doing the calling in case I get an owner on the phone. So I do not recommend outsourcing the actual contact with an owner to a VA or to an automated system. That's for you to do. You can automate and have VAs and companies do everything up to the actual contact of the owner. So that would be, again, sending out the letters and the lists and things like that. All right, So once you're talking to an owner, I recommend that you be able to make an offer pretty quickly over the phone. I'll talk more about that in the deal analysis section of this course, but that's what I recommend is that you be able to make an offer pretty quickly over the phone, know what you're trying to buy, hit it, make that offer, and get going. All right, so that's kind of going directly to owners. There's lots of different programs in there. We're not going to cover all of them, but lots of different ways to start reaching out to owners. When we're talking about 50 units and above, as I said, that's kind of a realtor world there, right? So what we need here is realtors and relationships with realtors. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And how do we start identifying assets, and how do we start finding these deals in a market? We're going to talk about some of the best ways and some of the worst ways that you can actually go out and start finding deals. But again, just larger properties, probably working with the realtor. You're going to need to establish the relationship, and you're going to need to get to know them and get going. This actually, you will find that there's probably only a few in each market that you're going to be working with. And what we're talking about, depending on what you're trying to buy. Now, if you're trying to buy houses, you would work with single family realtors. If you're trying to buy multifamily, then I recommend that you work with commercial multifamily realtors and companies that specialize in multifamily properties. Okay, so that's kind of 50 under, 50 above, realtors and owners, and how we're going to get in touch with each one. All right, so let's break this down into now starting to talk about contacting realtors. All right, so contacting realtors, first thing you need to do, again, we need a list. All right, so we're going to create a list. This is going to be different than the owner list that we talked about a minute ago. What I recommend that you do is when you go to a new market, let's say it's a market you've never bought in, you're not familiar with, you don't know, you don't have any relationships, or it's your home market, but you've yet to actually start reaching out to realtors and making contacts. So either way, it's about the same scenario if you're getting started. What you want to do is you want to figure out who are all of the realty firms, okay? Companies, so a list of companies, not people, companies at this point, all right? So what I'm going to create is a list of realty companies in my market that specialize in multifamily, or specialize in commercial, or specialize in whatever asset I'm trying to buy, okay? So what I recommend, to just keep the conversation for apartments and multifamily, what I recommend is that you spend some time going on the internet and doing some research and figuring out who are the realty companies in your market, it may even be in your state, that specialize in multifamily. See, now you got to keep in mind that realty companies for commercial and multifamily and larger properties may cover hundreds of miles around their office or around their hub, right? So for an example, here in Atlanta, the realty companies that sort of hub out of Atlanta will list multifamily properties all the way up through North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. They may go all the way down into northern Florida, certainly all the way down through Georgia. So again, these realty companies cover large territory. Whereas if it's single family, those realty companies probably stay a lot closer to certain neighborhoods, maybe even in a little city. So just keep that in mind, that you don't need to reset this list every time you go to another city, but you may every time you go to a new state or you go hundreds of miles out. So the idea, first of all, we're going to create a list of all the realty companies that specialize in multifamily. Great. How do we start getting this list? Okay, there are two websites that I recommend that you go to. Number one is loopnet.com, all right? That is LoopNet, L-O-O-P, loopnet.com, all right? And the other one is Crexi.com, C-R-E-X-I.com. Okay, now, first of all, loopnet.com and Crexi.com have no particular support by me. This is not necessarily a recommendation for this service. What I am telling you, though, is that LoopNet and Crexi, which this stands for the Commercial Real Estate Exchange, CREXI.com, these are not great places to actually find deals, but they are great places to figure out who are the realty companies in your market that are specializing in multifamily. So again, you may find a deal here. I'm not saying you will or you won't. All I'm saying is that this is a great place to start figuring out who are the companies in the area. once you've kind of exhausted the search on LoopNet and Crexy, then I would recommend just kind of going out on Google, the general search, and just search for commercial realtor your area, you know, commercial apartment realtor, commercial broker, real estate apartment realtor, you know, just mix the words all up and do those searches a bunch of times and you'll figure it out after a little while who are the main companies in your market that you're trying to work with. That being said, you're probably only going to find maybe 12, 15 companies in a general state or general region. Not that many. So it's not like you're going to wind up with 100 different companies that specialize in stuff. Now, you will if you're talking about single family and you're only looking at a lot of single family realtors, but not in commercial. You won't find that many. So it's not a gigantic list. Okay, so we've made our list. We now know who are all of the realty companies in the area that we need to be working with. That's your target group that we're going to be sourcing deals from on a regular basis. Again, when you're not going to an owner, you're going to be working off of this list of realty companies. Okay, so we've made the list. Step number 2 is to try and go to all of the home websites for these companies and log in. And what I mean by log in is see if you can go into their website and create a profile inside their company. Not all commercial websites will allow you to do it. Not all commercial realty sites allow you to do it, but a lot of them will, especially the larger ones. You want to go in there and see if you can basically get your email in their system. You want to get on their email list. That's what we're talking about here. All right. So try and get in and log in and create a profile in every one of these companies that you can. That will start getting deal flow coming into your inbox without you having to leave or go anywhere or talk to a realtor or do anything that you may be uncomfortable with at the moment. So figure out who everybody is, go through all the websites, see if you can get your email in their system and log in. Now, some of the companies, some of the larger companies, when you go to click on their login or create profile or create account button, that company is going to kind of walk you through a series of questions. They're going to say, hey, what size property are you trying to buy? What price range? What asset class? You know, these things. So I recommend that you answer these questions in very broad stroke answers. So if the computer starts to ask you, hey, what size property would you like to buy? 0 to 300 units, 0 to 500 units, something like that. Oh, okay, what price range? 0 to $50 million, things like this. The reason that I suggest you set those parameters wide when you're logging into these computers or into these websites is because it's an algorithm. And the algorithm is basically asking, what properties should we send you when we have a new listing? And you want that to be all properties. Send me everything. So if you set those parameters wide, then they're going to kind of send you every future property that they get that fits within that criteria. So that's kind of my reasoning for making that wide parameters. So you've made your list of companies, you've now gone to all their websites, you've logged in, you've built out a profile if you can help it. All right, next step is to go back and go through each one of these companies' websites and start looking at currently listed deals. All right, and that's very important. This is where I see a lot of people making mistakes when they first contact realtors. Okay, so I'm going to kind of take a sidebar here. We've made our list and we know that we need to start logging in. We need to start looking at currently listed deals. All right, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, maybe you're doing this, is to sort of call up a realtor and give them this wish list of things that you would like to buy. Hi realtor, this is Bill Ham and I would like to buy a really good deal. Do you have any really good deals laying around? Hey, maybe you got some deals that have lots of cash flow or value add. I want one of those. Got any of those laying around? That's not going to work. That's not going to work in a very competitive market. That might work in a really down cycle, but the majority of the time, that's not going to work. You come off as a tire kicker, somebody who's not serious about buying, somebody who's just kind of window shopping, and a realtor will typically sort of pick up on that as a waste of their time. They may not return your phone call. They may not answer your emails. They may not take you seriously. And so that's a mistake to just call up a realtor and start kind of handing them this wish list of what you would like to buy for real estate. All right. The reason that's not going to work is because you're basically doing something like this. You're calling that realtor up and you're saying, hey, you don't know me, you've never met me, but when you have a really good deal in the future, be sure and send that really good deal to me. the guy that sent you an email, the person that called up and talked to you on the phone one day. Forget all the people that you already work with. Forget all the clients that you already have great relationships with, that you know are going to close deals. Forget all them and send that really hot deal to the stranger that, you know, sent you an email one time. That's not going to work. All right, it's just not. These deals are traded through relationships. So your job is to build a relationship with the realtor, okay? And the way that you build a relationship with that realtor is through property tours. Okay, there's the rubber on the road. And that's where most people are going wrong when they initially contact a realtor. You're picking up the phone, you're just trying to give them your wish list of what a really good deal would look like to you. Maybe they have that for sale. They probably don't at the moment, and then you're asking them just to take down all your criteria and remember you someday in the future. It doesn't work well. So here's what I recommend, and this is why I teach this system of create your list, figure out who all the companies are, go to the websites, log into all those different websites. Now go back to each website and just see what is currently listed. All right, what does that realty company have for sale right now? Click on that deal. Now, when you first reach out to a realtor, be it phone, email, however you reach out to them very specifically about the property they already have. Not one they wish they had, not one you wish they had, not one they may have someday in the future. The property that's for sale today. All right, so I would reach out and say, okay, hey, Mr. or Miss Realtor, I see that you have 123 Main Street listed. Hey, I'm quite interested in this property. Now, don't start the volley of questions. Don't start asking them, hey, what's this? And, you know, what does this do? And what about that? And what's going on here? And you're just creating homework for this realtor. Don't do that. Keep it very short and very to the point. Hey, I see you have this property listed. That's great. Can you give me some price guidance? And that's the way that's the term that you use when you want to find out what something is going to sell for. By the way, sometimes we see these listings and it says to be determined, or the value says TBD or price, you know, TBD, this kind of nonsense. The realtor knows what that property is selling for. They're just not putting it in the outward information. So if you don't have a price, then send the realtor an email or call them or whatever and say, listen, I see you have 123 Main Street listed. That's great. I'm interested. Can you give me some price guidance? And when are your property tours? Stop. That's it. Now go meet the realtor on that property tour. That's how you build relationships. Don't try and make this some sort of, you know, interview over the phone. Second point, it's not a date. Don't try and date the realtor, right? I see people make this mistake all the time. They're going to pick up the phone Monday morning. They catch the realtor in their office. They've got all this kind of work they need to do. They need to push out from last week, push out from the weekend. And here you are trying to chat up the realtor. Hey, how about let's build commonality. Let's talk about stuff that we have in common. Let me see if I can get to know you. Let me see, you know, what kind of football team you like. And let's build all this commonality. It's not a date. You know, these people are busy. They want to close. They want to get a commission check. And they're not interested in chit and chat and you know, all this nonsense over the phone with you. So save all of that get to know you stuff for the property tour. I'm not saying that these realtors aren't humans and that they don't want to get to know you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a proper time and place for the commonality and the non-professional dialogue. That's in person on that property tour, not via email, not over the phone. That's going to come off wrong. It's going to seem like you're trying to date somebody. Don't start asking realtors out to lunch. They've got better stuff to do than meet you for lunch. You know, these things don't work, and they're very common advice in the real estate industry. You know, call up a realtor and ask them to lunch. What? It's not. These people have better stuff to do than just go have some free lunch. You know, they can buy their own lunch. They don't need you for that. So that's why I say start off professional, come at them professional, and you'll be treated like a professional. So that's how we make the list. We look at the assets that are for sale right now, take a look at analyzing that deal, then reach out to the realtor very specifically about that listing, do the property tour. That's where you get to build that relationship. And that's how you'll start really getting deal flow and start to get taken seriously by realtors. So at the moment, if you're not getting calls back, if you're not getting a lot of traction with your realtors, I suggest you stop and think about the things that I just told you. Pay attention to the things you have been doing. And that might be where you're making a mistake, right? Okay, so now let's fast forward. Now we've talked to the realtor, we've sent an email, we've made contact, and they've said, yep, let's go to the property tour. Let's go do a property tour. This is the real rubber on the road where you're going to build these relationships. Okay, so a couple of tips here. Number one, dress is business casual. You know, I'm not saying show up in a suit and tie or anything, but I'm saying maybe jeans and a t-shirt's not a great idea either. You know, you are here to impress someone, because I always hear that. You know, oh, I'm not here to impress anybody. Mission accomplished, because you're not, right? So put your best foot forward. Don't dress like an idiot. You know what I mean? Put on something semi-decent. Show up like you're professional. You treat these realtors in the deal with respect. Okay, so number one, now you're dressed properly. We look like professionals. When you arrive at the property, I recommend that you try and get there, you know, either on time or a few minutes early. But what you have to be careful about is not approaching the site staff, being managers, leasing agents, maintenance people. Don't approach the site staff on the day of the tour without the realtor being present, okay? That's kind of a no-no in our business, and that's something that if I don't tell you or somebody hasn't told you, you're likely to make that mistake and get yourself in trouble. So show up to the property. If you walk into the office, the property's office, and the manager's there and some staff is there and the realtor hasn't shown up yet, be polite, introduce yourself and say, hey, you know what? I've got a few phone calls I'm gonna make. I'm gonna step outside. I'm gonna wait for the realtor to show up. When they get here, we'll talk. So what you don't wanna do is to be in there, you know, engaging this staff in some kind of questions and answer session or some kind of interview process without the realtor being present. That puts them in a bad mood and can kind of set the relationship off on the wrong foot. So again, really don't engage property staff until the realtor is present. Okay, so now the realtor's here, you're there. This is a great time to ask the questions that you had maybe about the property. Let's say you saw some stuff in the profit and loss or the rent roll, you've made some questions. Great time to start asking that property manager some of these questions. Okay, so you've kind of asked your questions, get to know you, this sort of thing. The property tour now is going to be a function of this realtor taking you around the property and showing you a few units, not all of the units. This is not due diligence. You are not walking all the units and inspecting the property. This is just a meet and greet. Take a quick look. You're probably going to look at no more than 3 or 4 units even on a large property, right? So when I go on a property tour, one of the first things I always say is, you know, show me one of every floor plan, if they can, if they have something available to show you. A lot of times they won't show you a rented apartment, so they're only going to show you vacancies. But show me one of each floor plan and show me any down units. And what I mean by down units is show me any unit that's just bombed out, burned out, you know, something's gone wrong, it's full of mold, it's for whatever reason. I want to see the ugliest thing you got. Now that can make a realtor a little uncomfortable, especially the property manager, because now you're asking to see their sore spots, but I don't care. I don't want to see nice, shiny, and pretty. That's easy. Show me what I'm up against. Show me the downside. Show me the mess. And so I always ask that realtor, hey, if there are any down units, I want to see those right now. So outside of that, they're going to pretty much just give you a tour around. You're going to probably look at the facility, look at the amenities, maybe the pool, the fitness center, the gym, you know, all this kind of stuff. Go in a few different units and look around. So again, you're not trying to do a full property inspection, but when I go inside a few of these units, when I'm doing these tours, some of the things that I look for when I go in is general condition of the unit. You know, what am I looking at? Is it updated? Is it outdated? Do I feel like I'm going to need to kind of bring in some maybe carpet and paint, new lights? I'm kind of in my mind looking around trying to decide, what do I think I need to do at this apartment to maximize the rent? Okay. Second thing I'm looking at is the appliances. Are they old, newer? What condition are they in? I'm going to stick my head in and look at the air conditioner unit. Now, I'm not, you know, HVAC certified. I'm sure you're not either. We're not trying to diagnose whether things actually, you know, what repairs are needed. I'm just looking at the age. I'm looking at the condition. Does it look rough? Does it look new? Look at the water heater. Does it look rough? Does it look new? Do you see a lot of rust? I mean, we can kind of tell these things pretty generally. So I'm looking around. Now, one thing I will definitely stop and pay attention to, and I recommend that you pay attention to as well, is the breaker box, the panel with the circuit breakers in there. One thing you absolutely do not want to see is any kind of screw-in fuses. That would be very old, and that means you're going to have to replace that immediately. In all my units, I've only had one property that had that once, and it was an older property. So they do exist, but keep in mind you don't want any kind of screw-in fuses. There are some older panel boxes that might not fly with insurance. So you may have to kind of look at that. If they're older breaker boxes, insurance, and your lender may want you to kind of upgrade those. So there's just things I'm looking at, just generally walking around, looking at the unit, just looking at it, at a high level, right? Now, as I'm walking around outside the unit, when I'm out on the property, I'm looking at the parking lot. What kind of shape is it in? I'm looking at the roofs. Do they look rough? I'm looking around. Do I see a lot of wood rot? Do I see deferred maintenance? Is there any graffiti? You're just generally getting a feel for the property and for the location. That's it. And meeting that realtor. So that's a good time as you're walking around with this realtor to maybe do some of those commonality questions, or maybe get to know them a little bit better. That's a great time for that. But again, not over the phone. So kind of property tours, like I said, generally showing up, just going out there and meeting realtors and looking at deals. I recommend that you look, and by the way, and I've said this a bunch, I recommend that you analyze about 3 to 5 deals every week. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a property tour on all those, but I recommend that you get at least 3 to 5 deals on your desk that you're at least going through the math on every single week. Now, I would recommend that you tour at least one property a week if you can help it. At least one, try and get out and find stuff to look at. Now, early on, when you're trying to build a relationship with the realtor, I recommend that you tour everything, all right? Tour it all, big deals, small deals, it doesn't really matter. Tour all of them. It is not a waste of anyone's time, okay? I'm gonna kind of show you what I'm talking about. A lot of times people feel like they don't want to go meet a realtor and look at a property because that may be a waste of their time or a waste of the realtor's time. So first of all, in the very beginning, your time is worthless, let's be clear, because you don't know what you're doing. So your time is not valuable. You need to spend your time practicing, learning, and studying, right? The realtor's time is valuable, yes, but at the same time, realtors need you to do property tours, and it's kind of a funnel, all right? So I'm gonna kind of show something like this. Is just a rough description of a funnel here, all right? And so basically the way this works is the realtors will send out, 10,000 emails. This would be like, 10,000 emails here that they sent out to the world about this property, and those 10,000 emails resulted in, maybe 1,000 of these property packages being downloaded, off the internet, and that turned into maybe, 100 actual confidentiality agreements signed. So we'll say those are CAs. Maybe they got 100 CAs signed online, and 100 CAs turned into, maybe 30 property tours where people actually showed up and looked at the deal, which turned into, 10 offers, which turned into 3 of them that went to highest and best, which turned into 1 of them that was a sale. So it's kind of this funnel model, and all you're doing is just fitting yourself somewhere in this funnel by doing property tours, all right? Now, what I recommend that you do not do is to get into this level of the funnel if you're not serious. Like, don't go making offers that are not serious. Don't go making just lowball offers or offers just for the heck of it because you showed up on a property tour and now you feel obligated to make an offer. That is where you will damage a relationship with the realtor. So as long as you're just looking at the deal, you're touring, you're being honest about what you see, the things you like, the things you don't like, you're fine. If you start getting down here and start making offers that you know are not serious or that you're doing just to tie up a property for the heck of it, that is a bad idea. You're gonna get a bad reputation for doing that, and that's gonna damage you out here in the business. So I would not do that. That's something that we do a lot in single family. It's just like shooting out offers, just let's make 100 low offers and maybe one will stick. Don't do that in commercial. Don't do that in multifamily. That's gonna get you in trouble real fast. So this is kind of doing property tours. Again, you're just kind of fitting in the funnel, show up, do this as many times as you can, and you'll find eventually you'll start working your way down here, and one of these days you're gonna be that one right there that actually closes that deal. So this has been property tours. This has been the advanced deal flow video. All right, so get out there. Remember, it's a function of deal analysis and deal flow. Those are the 2 major concepts of real estate. And we've got to just get out here, pick your market, get these deals coming in the door. Remember, we want 3 to 5 deals every single week. And if you'll do that, you'll be out here closing deals before you know it.